Okay, so it's just about springtime here in Wisconsin, and I'm going ahead to start up my Skyline. I've been starting it throughout the winter, and the last time I started it a couple weeks ago, I saw something I didn't like, so here we go. I'll show you what that is. One of the first, I guess you could call it major-ish problems with the car. It's not that bad, though. It should be pretty remediable. Go ahead and fire it up. Starts up, and then you'll start seeing in a sec here. Alright, so it's not doing it right now, but here you can see the remnants of it. The last time I started up, it was just pouring fuel out, which it may be still doing it right now. I'm assuming it's probably just pulling up on top of the car. So that's obviously not good. So I'm going to go ahead and jack it up and show you where I found that it was leaking from last time. And just to show you a little bit of the damage that started from this, some of the undercoating or paint, whatever it is, on the gas tank, because of so much fuel that's pouring out. Obviously fuel has some corrosive properties, so it started to flake off. So when I go ahead and get this fixed, I'm going to probably spray it. It looks like it's just paint on there. It doesn't feel like it's undercoating or rubberized. You can see it started coming out. It was like the whole top of the tank was wet, and you can still kind of see the stains from it before. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the line that I saw that appears to be cracked. Looks like it's the feed line, so yeah, I'll show you. Alright, so I'm not sure how well you can see it, but the fuel line right there with the silver strap has definitely got a bunch of cracks in it. So I'm assuming it's cracked all the way, even above the tank. So what I'm going to do is pop that line off and replace it. And I don't think I have to drop the tank for this. I think I can just undo it there and then undo it up by the fuel sender right here. Looks like it's that one. It's got a different clamp, so it almost looks like maybe it was changed out at one point already. I'm not sure, but you can even see some of the cracks from up here as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and start undoing that here in a second. I'm gonna unhook the harness here for the fuel pump, and then turn the key a couple times just so the fuel that is in the lines gets out. I wish I could see it actually leaking, because it was leaking pretty profusely. It was kind of everywhere, which is odd that it's not doing it right now. It's not as cold as the last time I started it, so that could have an effect on it. Alright, so I went ahead and unhooked the fuel pump harness here, and I went ahead and tried starting the car. It started for a second, then died. Now it's just cranking. I just did that so I can relieve the fuel pressure that's still in the lines. See, nothing, not going to start up obviously, but I wanted to relieve whatever pressure was still in the line so that I can go ahead and remove that line without getting gas all over my face. It'll probably still happen a little bit, but it shouldn't be as bad. So I'm going to hop under there, unscrew, well, I think I'll unscrew the top one first. I'll unscrew the top one first up here, and then go from there. And being under here, under this, looking at that, back here, looking at the fuel sending unit and everything, reminds me a lot of my 240SX over there. A lot of similarities between these cars, even though this one was never offered in the US. There's a lot similar here, you know, as far as, you know, different various things really. Like even if you look at these door handles right there, the little, this whole mechanism right there. We look over here, the 240SX, that's like identical. So obviously they're from the same era, so it makes sense, but I just think it's kind of interesting. Alright, so we see some fuel coming down there, but not a whole lot. So, got that one off. I'm going to pop off the other one. I'll see if maybe I can just pull the whole thing out, but I don't know if it's clipped up there. I don't really know. Never taken it apart, so we'll see. Alright, this is the view from the bottom. Got the line there. I'm going ahead and unscrewing this, and I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can wiggle this line, or clamp off, and then I can pop off the hose and see. It's looking like it just kind of routes up there. You can see it. It's zip tied with these other ones, but it's got enough play where I think I could just yank it through. problem will be snaking the new one in. I can stick my hand in pretty far, but not. It gets pretty tight up against the trunk area, so we'll see what happens. I'm gonna do everything I can to avoid dropping this tank because I really don't want to do that. I'm gonna probably actually in a little bit go to the auto parts store and grab a couple feet of fuel line. See if I can start snaking that first before pulling the other one, or maybe I can tie them together somehow and then just do a yank through. So that's what I'm going to shoot for, so we'll see how it goes. Well, I didn't film it, but I just got a nice fuel bath all over my arm from whatever was left in that line, but I got it off. This clamp was kind of stuck, but I got the line off, so I'm going to go to the parts store now, grab a new one, see if maybe I can snake the new one back in there and see what happens. Alright, so I went ahead and got like 5 feet of this stuff, which is not cheap. I didn't ask the price ahead of time, but it's like $7 a foot. I got 5 feet just so I'm able to feed it and do what I need to do. I probably only really needed like 2 feet, but here we go. So what I did is I moved the one line over, because I tried getting it from this way, there wasn't happening, so this way looks like I have a little more room, so I'm going to start feeding it. And it looks like it's working, because it's going. And now that's probably about half the thing, so that's about 2.5 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and hop under here and see what we've got. And then we've got a fuel line coming down, so that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So I think that right now I'll be safe to pull the old one out so it's out of the way, since now I know this can be fed here. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to just yank that one down and out and see if that works how I want. See if I can pull that out. If not, I guess it won't be the worst thing in the world to leave it, but I'd rather not. Alright, and looking at the hoses, they are the same size. So the 5/16 was right, it's the same as the 240SX. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and feed it again. Once again, I'm going to go from right here. Just start. Alright, so it gave me a little bit of trouble, but I got it on. I just had to undo the screw all the way out, open it up, and then put it there. If you're changing out for a new clamp, it won't matter. None of that makes sense, so I didn't even film it. It's not a big deal. So we're good down here. I got it routed through this factory zip tie that's up there. So making it as OEM as I can. So I'm going to go to the top and cut it and go from there. Okay, so I will be at some point upgrading the fuel pump on this vehicle, so I am going to leave a little extra here to work with so when I pop this line back off in the future. So I'm going to push in a little bit here and then cut it there. And then that way I have enough room to play with it, you know. So, yeah. Oh yeah, side note, make sure you actually get fuel injection one, not just regular fuel line, because, you know, this is higher pressure than your normal fuel line. So here's going to be the fun part, getting this part done. Alright, so I got it close there, so I'm going to run and grab some penetrating oil spray down there. Hopefully that lets it go down the rest of the way. Alright, so it took some fighting, but I got it on there. I ended up having to use a couple of pliers. I don't think I mangled it too much because I wasn't squeezing that hard. I just spraying a lot of penetrating oil in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and hook the fuel pump harness back up and fire it up and see how it does. I'm hoping it doesn't leak. If anything, it'll leak there because that's the one I kind of was mangling. If it messes up, I got plenty of line here, so I'll redo it. I'll pull it all back out and do this top part first and then the bottom. That way this gives me a little more room to work. Alright, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up. Actually, I just turned the key now to prime it, and I don't see any fuel coming out, so that's good. Alright, so I'm not seeing any fuel, so which is good. So it looks like we should be alright. I was kind of afraid I mangled the hose a bit much, but she's looking good. No leak or anything. I'm going to let it run for a while. and then just make sure it's good before I go ahead and button this up. And nothing leaking down here either, so we're looking good. Lots of condensation in the exhaust from sitting all winter. I only start it up every few weeks, so you know that makes sense. And here's some more shots of that old hose. This was nasty, super cracked. Oddly enough, the other one didn't look this bad, but this is pretty bad. Can't even pinpoint where exactly it was leaking because it wasn't on the ends really, because on the edge of it looks fine. I'm guessing it was this bend right here because that's where it's really cracked. Obviously, with a higher pressure of fuel injection, that's going to shoot on out. It was really pouring out. I'm kind of surprised that it wasn't doing it today, but I wish I could have gotten that on film, but oh well, not a big deal. And she's still holding strong, so we're good there. I think we're going to be good. It's been running for about 5 minutes, so I'm going to give it a few revs just to make sure, but she should be alright. Looks like she's good, so I'll go ahead and let it run for a little longer and then button everything up.